Hi, I'm Saul Goodman. Did you know that you have rights? The Constitution says you do, and so do I. I believe that until proven guilty, every man, woman, and child in this country is innocent. And that's why I fight for you, Albuquerque.
This is Gary Butterfield.
This is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Best Quality Vacuum, the Duckfeed show where we look at the entire Vince Gilliverse. That's Breaking Bad, El Camino, and Better Call Saul. Better Call Saul.
And Better Call Saul.
Yes.
Do not be confused by the title. We are not starting the Better Call Saul series. That is after we talk about Breaking Bad. This is the episode in season 2 called Better Call Saul, which changes the game.
Best episode of season 2 so far.
Oh, it's amazing.
I'm going to say this is the level of fun and like hijinks and stakes that I love in this show. I love the TV show Better Call Saul, but I really like it when he becomes a shithead.
Yes.
Like shithead Saul Goodman is really fun. And I missed him.
Yes.
After the depth and nuanced high art version of Saul that we get in that show. I miss just like, let's roll around in the dirt.
Let's be as crooked as possible.
Smear ourselves with feces and scream like it's fucking Garbo people doing trash things and being shits. Like, let's get into it. Goblins, like not goblin mode. Like, oh, I had a cheeseburger. It's goblin mode. No. Goblins. Like, I want to fucking have a Warren. And I'm worth 10 experience, like goblins.
I want to speak very blithely about the nature of prison shankings.
Yeah, just like you're sure and then take a trip to Belize. Just real fucking cavalier about human life. Like, let's get scummy. Way into it.
God, so good. Yeah. This was written by Peter Gould, who would go on to be instrumental in Better Call Saul. The series, and this was directed by Terry McDonough, and it originally aired on April the 26th of 2009.
Yes. Primarily this is about Badger getting busted and us being introduced to this crooked lawyer, Saul Goodman, who helps set up a deal. There's also a subplot with Hank dealing with PTSD. I always forget about, but it's done really well in this. Those scenes are really good.
Yeah.
And Saul, like major character, one of the, we got a couple more major characters coming, but not that many. We got some Gus and we got some Mike on the way. And then we got the Nazis, but this really rounds out our ensemble for a while here.
It really does. And the way that he enables everything that happens from this point on, like he is what allows the things to get as heightened as they are.
Yeah. He's a bridge because, these are just two guys. They don't know dick about doing these crimes, and they get a lot of comedy mileage out of that. But if they want the stakes to keep going higher and they want to actually deal with them in the big leagues, they need a bridge to that. And this person who has a foot in both ponds, like low life and higher crime life, is perfect for it.
And he's a great character. I mean, obviously, again, just me clapping like a circus seal when I see who Saul Goodman is. Yes. Who's played by, like, you have to remember 2008, Bob Odenkirk, it had been a while since he had done Mr. Show. Like, he had been this, he had his time on Front Street as part of this sketch show for comedy nerds, right? But like between then, before that, and then he kind of immediately afterward, he was doing writing, production. Like, he doesn't consider himself to be a performer, right? Like, he's more thinking about, just making good comedy happen, right?
Well, he would show up on things and it would always be the best part of what he showed up in.
Yeah.
But just kind of barely. So it's like, oh, he's in this episode of Seinfeld. That's real fun.
Yeah.
But that's it. It wouldn't be anything more than that. Oh, he showed up on Curb Your Enthusiasm. And he was great, but it was a treat. We could have just a little bit of Bob Odenkirk as a treat.
Yeah. But to have him brought in, as a comedic actor doing this, it's a comedic role in this show that is getting kind of more and more serious, right?
Yeah.
As kind of this very much needed leavening, to happen, I think. Just it's impossible to think of somebody who could have done this better.
He's also one of my all-time favorite actors.
Yes.
And presences. It is very normie core to love Bob Odenkirk. Like, the whole internet lost their mind when he had a heart attack with good reason. Like, we did not want to lose our boy. I was so genuinely, like, I went into parasocial apoplexy when he was fine, just like, oh, thank God. And I was like, I don't know this man.
Yeah.
I just, he's great. I love him. I really like Nobody. He's real fun in that. Obviously, just incredible in Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
We'll get just an incredibly gifted actor.
Yes.
One of the funniest people, and then also just an incredible actor.
Yeah.
Absolutely arresting on screen. Brought a lot of this character himself. Which we learn from. They talk about this a little bit in the podcast about this, which is largely just congratulating people. We get little details like Saul's specific haircut of like almost being a mullet, but not really.
Yep.
That's all Bob Odenkirk. Like he's just like, no, it's got to be like this.
Yeah.
And explain this very specific dorky haircut.
It's got to be this kind of comb over, right? Like the back almost needs to be a distraction from what's going on up front. The smoke and mirrors there.
He crafted this character. Did a lot of work with it.
Yeah.
And his character ends up having surprising depth even within this series. Obviously, in Better Call Saul, we get to the absolute bottom of that, and that's a masterpiece. Even in this series, there is surprising depth to Saul Goodman eventually. Wonderful character.
Yeah. Also, the wardrobe choices were him too. And then like he pretty much helmed the commercials, which kind of become this. I mean, it's the way that he is properly introduced is through this Tim and Eric commercial that he has here. But like, he gets in and is like, all right, we need to make this as shitty as possible on purpose. Right. Yeah. And the crew just was not acclimated to that at all. Like they had to like figure out how to do a bad green screen. Right.
Yes. Yeah. And it's also, knee-slappingly fucking funny.
Oh yeah.
All this stuff. Like this is a funny show. We talk about that. Like I don't know if there's any show that lives in my heart as hard as this one does that isn't at least a little bit funny. Like you need that.
Yeah.
That commercial is fucking hilarious. Do you know that you have rights?
You're just minding your own business, swerving all over the road, drinking from a bottle.
Just partying. Yeah. The Constitution says you do. I love that so much. I think about that all the time.
Oh man.
Very good stuff.
The commentary is mostly focused on geeking out about Bob Odenkirk. He is not on the commentary. Imagine he was busy at the time. But there are fun like technical things there, like talking about how they arranged the cold open. Like just
it was shot in a big uninterrupted shot, and then they used some of the cars passing by to do cuts.
Yes. Yeah. But even making it look like first thing in the morning, the lighting challenge for that and all of that. It gets a real, like, you're loving this, aren't you, Cole? Kind of thing where it's just like, I think at one point they say, really, you got to hand it to the people who painted the set. You've got to hand it to the electric department.
There's nothing I like more in a commentary or podcast than people handing it to each other. Just a nonstop it's why I love the Oscars. It's why I love all of that stuff. Just a nonstop, it's Hollywood's, the stars are shining and it's just, gotta give it up.
The part that so they had the director of photography here. The part that I liked wasn't the hand it to him. Just like, but it's funny to say like, oh, you got to hand it to the painters or whatever. But like, they're making good points, stuff that I recognize from, taking like film lighting classes in college, just like talking about the challenge of this and the way that they overcame it. Like they get into more technical detail on that. I know that's not your thing. It is the thing that I, dig. Yeah.
I just don't like handing it to people.
Yes. Yeah.
On things, or I don't want to, I like it. Like it's one of those things where it's not a spectator sport.
Yeah.
I hope they're going up to the painting people and telling them,
yeah.
Like, hey, you did a good job on this. Not just like telling me and having me, be like,
I'll pass it along if I see them.
Yeah. Why are you telling? Who are you talking to? It's like one of those things where every once in a while, like Kamala Harris will tweet, like somebody's got to do something about the guns in America, and it's like, who are you talking to?
Yeah.
Who are you passing this up to? Me? The person who retweeted you onto my timeline, like you have more power than I do. It's that kind of thing is always what that makes me feel like. It's what's interesting about my appreciation of this and behind the scenes stuff. And it's not, it's specific kind of the Breaking Bad. So like we had a lot of behind the scenes access in the previous show in this slot for Orb. But we were getting more about the choices for plot and character in that, which is what I want. That was behind the scenes, but there were some technical details, but it wasn't exclusively technical details.
Yeah.
This so far has been mostly that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's kind of bumming me out. Like, it's not the part, I'm not trying to take that away from you.
Right.
It's just a porque no los dos, you know, like
I also would like those things because like you created Saul Goodman for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Like you had a goal, you know, it just, even though season 2 was produced in this kind of strange way and, you know, kind of set up more like a Swiss watch than a lot of the other seasons were, like there was a problem that Saul was, you know, designed to solve.
Yeah.
Right. Like talk about that. You know,
speak to it as a plot construct.
Yeah.
You know, talk about storytelling, not just film, like literal filmmaking, the making of film, you know, making the shot. Like, and it's just a weird thing that part of it is like they're recording the commentaries, commentaries and the podcast contemporaneously with it. It's not a retrospective, you know, like the Go Team Venture book is. What I really want is a retrospective. Yeah. I want them to go back with the full knowledge of the series and talk about what they were doing, you know, and maybe such thing exists. I haven't looked in, you know, there might be like a what happened style, you know, book about Breaking Bad. I haven't seen one, but that's what I want, you know, and I'm still holding out hope that as the show gets more confident and gets a little bit further along, that stuff will start bleeding into the back matter.
Yeah.
You know? Not that I don't want production details or want to take that away from you. I just want other stuff as well.
Yeah. Just replace some of the glad handing with, you know, just storytelling. Tell me something from the writer's room. You know, tell me about something that almost made it in. Right.
That's just fascinating. Like the way that they write this, like even just like a writer's room is a fascinating prospect. You know, the idea somebody writes a thing and then everyone gets together to improve it. You know, and they're making all these little things. Like there's little details about that. But again, it all just bleeds into production. Like they talk about how much they wanted to have they wanted to have a queen size bed for Jesse's bed at the end of this. They ended up getting a king size. Yeah. And this drove Vince Gilligan nuts. I don't care. Like I that's really hard for me. Like that's trivia in the most trivial sense, you know, and what I wanted, like, I can guess why he wanted a queen size bed. Yes. Like that would speak to Jesse's, like, you know, sense of modesty, like not understanding, you know, the difference, like thinking that's probably fine, but speak to that, you know, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah. Please. So. You know, and like there's a little bit of that in the commentary. Like they talked about just the difference between writing for Saul and writing for every other character. Saul is the only character who, you know, speaks in long uninterrupted lines. Right. Yeah. Like he gets these walls of text, whereas everybody else, you know, it is done very kind of almost like percussively, and the drama is conveyed in the reaction. Right. Yeah. But Saul is a fast talker.
Saul is always performing. He's always in front of a judge.
Yeah.
You know, and that's stuff that we get to see masterfully develop over the series. I'm really excited to watch the rest of Breaking Bad, but I'm also really excited to revisit Better Call Saul. Same. And you know what? I'll throw you a bone, El Camino. I'm really excited for you as well.
Same.
Good shit. And this is, I'm not trying to complain about the back matter. This is my favorite episode of season 2, at least so far, and probably will end up being on rewatch. And
let's see after 4 days out.
4 days out is great. I mean, I think that Saul might do more for me than a bottle episode.
Yeah.
I love 4 days out, but man, this is
really
perfect.
Good.
This is the mix. Great opening as well. We start with this like beautiful cold open. Badger's sitting on a Better Call Saul park bench. There we can't see Saul's face, but it, you know, foreshadowing. And this is we're situated across the street in one unbroken shot that they did camera trickery to not make unbroken. And DJ Qualls walks up to him and he goes, "Shit, DJ Qualls, I've seen you as a character actor in some stuff.
Yeah,
you're that sick actor that everybody likes.
You're always so cocky.
Have you gotten better?
Yeah,
like." You know, Hollywood's sickest actor walks up and sits next to him.
The most prominent Adam's apple in showbiz.
Yeah, the tuberculosis of the year recipient walks up.
I think he's Qualls. Like Detective Getz or something like that. Like just he's they put him on undercover stuff because he looks like a kid, right?
Yeah,
you know,
and he has to buy a teeth. You know, Badger's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's, you know, listen, I smell bacon. And this really funny bit of him being like, well, look at that truck over there, that brown truck that's parking all conspicuous. You know, Flowers by Irene. Come on. It's not Flowers by Irene, but something very similar to that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Just, you got to be, you know, if you're going to do this, at least be original. Right.
Yeah.
You know?
And the buyer calls his bluff. Like, he's like, I guess I'm just going to go. And I was just like, you know, don't be like that. You know, I got to know, you know, I got to know you're not a cop. Show me you're not wearing a wire here.
So he lifts up his shirt. He's like, I'm blinded, so white. And Badger's like, yeah, but that's still not enough. You're not wearing a wire. And he says like, hey, you go punch that guy, then I'll know you're not a cop. But the buyer says, well, how about this? The Constitution says that if a cop, if you ask a cop if they're a cop, they can't deny it. If they're,
It's slightly funnier. Like he says, listen, if you ask a cop, you can't deny it. And Badger goes, really? He's like, yeah, it's in the Constitution. And Badger says, one of the low-key funniest lines of the whole thing, the U.S. Constitution? That's so funny.
Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, it's really good. Oh, the U.S. Constitution? He's like, yeah, man. And he goes, okay, you a cop? He's like, no, man, ask it official.
Ask it in like official.
This gets paralleled later. When Saul is like, make it official.
Yeah.
Put the dollar in my pocket. These two contrasting, putting on airs of formality for this. Yeah. He does it and Badger's like, all right, let's make the deal. Here's the price is the price, takes the money. And then as soon as this happens, the buyer draws on him. And two vans pull up. One of the vans just straight up says something on the side, like copies or something like that. It's very funny. A big, intimidating windowless van that just has a very bland word on the side.
The other one's just a brown van. That's the flower van. Like Badger totally spotted it.
Yep.
But something that I love about just the inherent sweetness of Badger, this is a social avocation for him. Like the money motivates him, just as it would anybody who wanted to make a quick, dangerous buck, right? But like. He ignored his better instincts about this because he wanted
a friend.
He wanted to be friendly with this guy. It's so sweet.
Yeah, it's really funny and sweet.
Yeah,
I love it. He gets arrested. He gets up, and we see Saul. Cut to we have our intro credits, and then we cut to a Better Call Saul commercial. Again, great. Do you know that you have rights? The Constitution says you do. Absolutely love it.
Guy drinking and driving arrested by a lady stripper cop wearing a crop top uniform.
Great, just beautiful stuff. We cut to Jesse and Jane lying on the floor of the bedroom post-coital.
Yes. Yeah.
And Jesse, we follow the trail of clothes.
Yes. And Jesse wishes that they could smoke, just imagine post-sex smoke could be great. But Jane, says, no, absolutely not. Like she still needs to wear the hat of the building supervisor.
Yeah, right? I can smell that weed. My dad has a nose like a bloodhound. And they start bonding a little bit. He's like, oh, your dad's cautious. She's like, yeah. this is just something Jesse has experience with. Like, obviously.
Yeah.
He says, since I already lost my deposit, what if I burn one? Do you want some? She says, no. He's like, well, do you mind if I do? Maybe you'll change your mind. Yeah. And she starts icing him.
Yeah.
It starts getting up and putting on her clothes, leaving, do what you want. And he says like, hey, what did I say? And she flips him, her AA, basically her, Narcotics Anonymous, but her 18-month recovery chip.
Yeah.
That she has.
And he lies, recovery. Right on. I respect that. I don't really burn much anymore. It's just like a sometimes thing.
Yeah, it's a sweet lie though. He's doing it because he's trying to say like, no, like this is a respectful move. Weirdly enough, like he wanted to, I have had friends who are habitual weed smokers who wouldn't do this, who wouldn't like back off. Like he likes her, I think it's genuine. Like he's willing to cut down.
Yeah. Which, it's not a deal breaker. Like most recently we have seen him using it to cope with trauma. So,
yes. Yeah. He saw a guy's head get crushed.
Yeah.
But he's also, he really likes her. He's willing to make a sacrifice here.
Yeah.
He asks if they're cool and she doesn't answer. She just says, hey, your satellite connected. That screen's real badass. Like implicitly answering.
Yeah. So we get a night to day time lapse. Skylar is preparing her lunch for the day. She's going in on the weekend and Walt's like, is this going to be every weekend? You're pretty dressed up for a Saturday.
Yeah. You don't even get casual Saturdays. You're like, well, it's work. Everyone's going to be there. She needs this social. She needs to socialize outside of her house because her house is a fucking nightmare. Yeah. She does come up and give him a kiss. I think this is really well observed. Something that happens as people emotionally distance themselves from a partner is they will sometimes be more physically affectionate. It's not like I want to say a smokescreen, but it's not so calculating.
Right.
It's not like they're saying like, haha, they'll never suspect me of wanting to fuck to IFT if I kiss him. It's just a thing you do, instinctually.
Yeah. It's like a dad who's not around very much because of work or whatever, buys a lot of gifts for the kid.
Exactly. Like your brain is trying to fix you.
Yes.
And trying to make you do good. She leaves, the phone rings, and it's Marie panicking. She's very distressed. Walt comes over and answers it. And he goes over there to discuss him.
Yeah, Hank has been in the bed. He's not leaving the bedroom, right? Just a distressing amount of time. Shutting down entirely. Won't talk about what happened. She didn't even know that he came home. She just came home and found him. She had to hear about the bombing from Gomez. Just complete wall.
Yeah, absolutely shutting her out. Walt goes and knocks on the door. Hank goes, "Not now, babe." And he's like, "No, it's me." As soon as he hears Walt, he puts on the face. He's trying to be friendly. Hank does fucking incredible work in this episode. Like this is obviously Bob Odenkirk's episode.
Yeah.
Great Hank PTSD episode.
Yes.
I love that his accidental moment of honesty, like Walt's like, "How are you doing?" He's like, "Pretty lousy." Or like pretty bad. And he's honest. And then you can hear it, like the wheels turning. Because Montezuma's revenge, big time.
Yeah.
It's just going through me like crap through a horn or something. Like he says something that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
He's desperately trying to put on his face.
Yeah. Yeah.
In front of somebody. It's tragic. Like again, this, Hank is a racist uncle, as his character, but like there's so much humanity in this fucking character.
Yeah.
In this arc. It's really good. It's something I don't think I appreciated fully until this watch.
Yes.
And looking at it really closely. Like it's really well done.
Yeah. And seeing them like figure out a good way to use him as well.
Yeah.
As opposed to just like a comic relief who, will they, won't they, with him being on Walt's trail. Right.
Yeah. Like which eventually comes back later, but they lay the ground they had to make us care about Hank.
Yeah.
In contrast with what they, this is not the actress's fault at all, but contrast how they try to get Marie to have the same kind of thing with the shoplifting and all of the nonsense.
Yeah.
That's not a very good plot. They did not do well by Marie. They did really well by Hank.
Yes.
I think. So he drops the act. Walt says, "Yeah, I know. I heard what happened. It's awful." And he's like, "Yeah, Juarez is like Apocalypse Now. And my sec there sent me home. Can you believe they took your second best guy and sent him home? Oh, he was just grabbing an evidence bag. Something must be up."
Yeah.
He feels guilty and he feels like they are suspicious of him. Like he was trying to dodge a bomb.
Yeah.
Which like you would do, but he's got this crazy survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
About this.
Yeah. And he's just trying to, build up this external threat. Right. As opposed to, acknowledging, the fact that like, oh, he is broken a little bit by what happened, by seeing this. Right. And Walt's just like, hey, maybe this is something you should find somebody to talk to. And Hank says something that is very true about law enforcement, which is the second you go see a shrink, your career's sunk. Right.
That seems like such a great sustainable thing for our cops.
I know, right?
To have as a, just like these people, we give them guns, we put them, under immense pressure and encourage them to kill people, but they can't see a therapist.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Yeah. That's something that like, there's just a code, it's so fucking dark, stupid. Like it's sad, so he says, what about Marie or even me? You can talk to me. And he says, I love, Hank doesn't know how to say this. This is one of those big moments in Breaking Bad being about masculinity, right? These two different contrasting forms of it where Hank says like, listen, the things that I deal with, the things you deal with, we don't have very much experiential overlap. What it means to be a man is very different to Hank.
Yes.
At this point, and he's struggling with it. He does not realize that other people could be having those struggles.
Yeah.
Here.
That, there is some fungibility between him getting this, survivor's guilt and Walt dealing with, just a very imminent threat to his own mortality. Right.
Yeah.
Says, what have I told you I do?
Yeah. And he doesn't come clean here, obviously.
Yeah.
But he talks about his secret life of Walter Mitty-ass, life. Here is Willie Lomanism. He lived his life in fear and anxiety, about what might happen. And he said, ever since, I'd stay up until 3 a.m, being scared, but ever since my diagnosis, I feel fine.
Yeah. He's Jeff Bridges fearless.
Yes. Yeah. He's almost become limitless.
Give
him that pill.
Yeah. But this is real funny because he's not gassing Hank up, but like he's saying what he believes will help, right? Like he is helping him as his brother-in-law, saying, you know, the fear is the real enemy. So get out there, and you kick that bastard as hard as you can, right in the teeth. Forgetting that partially that bastard that he's telling him to kick is him.
Yeah. Well, it's also, you know, the real world. You know, get out in the real world and kick that. Like, and this is a loving act.
Yes.
You know, this is not manipulator Walt or anything. And I love the vulnerability here. Walt would love to talk to Hank about that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like Walt hasn't had anyone to talk about with that stuff.
No,
he's literally been through what Hank is going through right this second.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when he is just a blue screen staring at the Better Call Saul ad.
Yeah.
You know, after Tuco in the desert or Tuco in the junkyard.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, so Jesse and Walt are at the apartment running the cash counter. You know, Walt has the machine run it again, and he's like, I need this thing running forever. Like, we're going to fucking feed this thing so much money.
Yeah.
You know, Walt finds one of Jane's earrings on the floor, you know, so he knows about her, but nothing comes of it yet.
Yeah. Not yours, I take it.
Yeah. Walt notices the count is short, and Jesse says, don't be a dick, you know, but Badger hasn't kicked out in his full amount. I know he's going to. He's probably just sleeping in because I know he's going to pull an all-nighter.
Yeah.
And Walt says he can sleep on his own time, wake him up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, this only works if you're scared of you, you know. Yeah. And so Jesse calls.
They're not
Badger.
Your friends. You're their boss.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
You know, and just the real dick way that Walt is just, you know, trying to undermine and almost like emasculate Jesse. Like he goes to voicemail. You know, oh, voicemail, huh? Like obviously he's ducking you. He doesn't respect you.
Yep, and it works. Like Jesse then calls Combo and lays into him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like don't cover for him. He finds out where Badger is, and he gets the answer, and he's like, listen, they were too scared to tell me, like Badger got busted. You know, the double-edged sword of making people fear you. Mm-hmm. They're not going to share information.
Yeah.
Hank is doing his elevator ride to get his face on.
Yes.
You know, his panic attack there before he can do his homecoming in the office and become the guy everyone likes.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It's showtime. Yeah. So it's like, oh, you know, we're going to go into the office, read the paperwork, see what you guys have been up to while I've been away. And he's sitting in the office, and Gomez is giving them this long look. Like, come on, man. Like,
come on, man. You watched a guy blow up.
Yeah. You know, level with me. You can do that with them, but don't do it with me.
Yeah. It was last week, you know, and he's like, what do I look like? You know, I'm here. And he just brushes it off, you know? And again, these acts of love, right? Like Gomez realizes, you know, he doesn't believe him that he's fine, but realizes this will cheer him up.
Yeah.
Like he wants to focus on work. Mm-hmm. So, hey, check this out. You know, they found some of that blue meth. They got the guy in the interrogation room. I was thinking about taking a walk over there. Do you want to come?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Hank's like, hell yeah. We cut to the interrogation room where Officer DJ Qualls, the sickest police officer there ever was, is talking to Badger. Badger's like, man, you told me you were a cop. Like, I feel lied to. I thought we'd hang out. So sweet.
I just such an unlocking moment for Badger. Yeah, like this is a social life for him.
Yeah, it's really sweet.
And like the Officer Getz or whatever is it, Officer DJ Qualls. He's playing the good cop. You know, we are hanging out. You know, like just come on, man. Like I'm just here to help you. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. If you tell us your supplier, this can go good for you.
Yeah.
You know, listen, should I call you Badger or Brandon? You know, do you like that? Badger or Brandon? Oh, I actually like people who don't like abuse the Constitution. And speaking of Constitution, Saul Goodman barges in. You know, and are you talking to my client without me here? That's no good. There are laws. You know, which one is which? It's very like, again, just immediate.
Yeah.
There, go get yourself a juice box.
Did the Academy hire you right out of the womb? I swear they're getting younger and younger.
You know, go get a juice box, take a nap. I'm going to talk to my client. You know, which one are you? Oh, Mayhew, public masturbator. You can't just do it at home like the rest of us. Big screen pay-per-view. Starbucks. Ugh. And that's not me.
Oh, it's a transpositional error.
Nothing a little whiteout can't fix. It's so good.
Yeah.
You know, and I love Saul, you know, absolutely a businessman.
Yeah,
This shit. Like this is the Saul from the end of the series. Like I'm gonna get you. This is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna get you a second phone call. You're gonna talk to your parents, your parish priest, or whatever. Give me a money order for $4,250.
Yeah, make it out to Ice Station Zebra Associates. I love that so much. Just it's a little money laundering outlet, a shell company named after one of Howard Hughes' favorite movies.
It's really good. Totally legit, just for tax purposes.
Yeah.
Badger says, "Will you get me off?" And Saul says, "I'm not your high school girlfriend. 5 fingers, no waiting. I'm kidding. I'm going to give you the best defense that money can buy."
Yes. Yeah. This is a standard transaction. Like this is somebody walking into the gas station and buying a stick of gum. Like he's giving them the rundown, right?
Yeah.
And Saul goes out into the hallway. He was talking on his Bluetooth when Hank and Gomi roll up, and they rib him about his shitty commercials.
Yeah, and he gives it right back to him.
Yeah.
They're doing the dozens. They're giving each other shit. Mm-hmm. He's like, "What would the DA want? About this little street bust? What do you want, that little twerp? Ridiculous." We cut over to Jesse and Walt driving up to Saul's office, and Jesse laying out again, like, "Walt, if you want exponential growth, our guys are going to get popped."
Mm-hmm.
This happens. Walt says, "Okay, well, why don't we hire him a real lawyer?" And I love this line delivery so much. Like Jesse's like, "This is the real lawyer. This is who I would go to." Like this guy got Emilio off twice. He was dead to rights. When the going gets tough, you don't want a criminal lawyer. You want a criminal lawyer.
Which is just immediately there you go. That sums it up.
Yeah. It's phenomenal. It's really good.
Mm-hmm. Which also sets up kind of like the false expectation of what people thought Better Call Saul was going to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. The fact that starts so far in the past
on
that character storyline is really brave. Like I was unsure about it. At first, because the first season of that show I do think is a little slow.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. Michael McKean, fucking A, but it's a little slow.
Yes.
And once you adjust to the pace though, it's like jumping in a cold pool.
Yeah.
And you get used to it and it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just they re-earn your trust, but that does take time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say like, who's going to go inside? I don't want them seeing my face. I don't need them seeing my face.
Mm-hmm.
You look like the typical clientele, dick. Just they're at a standstill, so they do the coin flip.
Yeah,
and Walt loses.
And they go in and they sit in the waiting room. This, a lot of stuff around Saul's clientele could be considered classist. I'm just gonna roll around in the mud on this one.
Yeah, it is what it is. Spooge was one of his former clients. We're living in a world in which spooges exist.
Yeah,
Spooge is a given.
Yeah,
but Spooge is a constant. There's always a lighthouse. There's always Spooge.
Yeah, but just Walt's discomfort as he's sitting in this crowded, tiny waiting room, looking around at everybody, and just
so sad. There's like kids.
Yeah, well, there's that one little kid who's just like mad dogging him and like up to the second knuckle digging for boogers.
Yeah, just like absolutely playing green knuckle. And Francesca calls him. All the little details they end up pulling back in for Better Call Saul are sweet. And this, same actress. She's younger here, even though she'd be younger in the sequel.
Yeah.
We get the first look at the office. These huge columns. It's just the Constitution behind him.
Yeah,
loves that Constitution.
I love how this degrades as it goes on. Like, it's just all foam.
Very good.
Yeah. But it's a TV set, right? And Walt is there, does what does he say? He says like, "Oh, paging DB Cooper," right?
Yeah. Should I call the FBI and say I found DB Cooper?
Yeah.
Because he's got the big sunglasses and hat.
Yeah.
He's incognito.
Yeah.
Saul says, "Oh, Mayhew, is that Irish or Scottish?" And he goes, "Irish." He goes, "Oh, me too. My real name is McGill. I just do the Jew thing for the homeboys."
Yeah.
He's passing.
Yes. So Saul breaks the news that the DEA is involved, just kind of throwing it out like, obviously this is a factor here. This gets Walt to break character. Like, shit, DEA is involved. Not only is that a huge problem, so that's a bigger threat than local PD, but also my brother-in-law, right? Like, we need to figure this out.
Yep. He doesn't break character entirely and mention his brother-in-law, at this point, but that's what's going on in his head. And Saul's like, "No, this is going to actually be great. There's a deal with the DA and Saul's going to have him take it." And Walt says, "Well, what about these people? I've heard that there might be reprisals if it's really bad." And Saul says, "Well, I in jail, he's not going to like it. You'd rather have him take his chances on the outside. I might be able to work in some witness protection."
Yeah.
And Walt counters like, these are vicious, desperate people. I heard one of them killed a man by crushing his head with an ATM. And Saul, is like, "No, people love to take credit for the fun ones."
Yeah.
That was my client, Mr. Spooge.
Yeah. And just the
Please,
news is
Mr. Spooge was my father.
And the news is out. The story wasn't going to hold up for very long. It was obvious that Mrs. Spooge did the killing. He knows about this. He's been following the trial because Spooge used to be a client of his.
Yeah. He's walking out the door and Walt just is like, I know how to do this. And just goes $10,000. The door closes. We don't get to hear this conversation.
No.
We get the very beginning of it. $10,000 for Saul to get Badger out, but not talk to the DA. We cut to Walt and Jesse in the car.
Yeah.
He's like, you're telling me that guy wouldn't take a bribe, and he's like, yeah, kicks me out.
Morally outraged. And just like, all right, well, so what's the plan now? And we are fully in the caper zone.
Yes. Beautiful. They kidnap him. Saul's leaving his office, hitting on Francisco. Just like, do you mind if I walk you home? For safety. God, you killed me with that booty. It's just a
scumbag.
He's an absolute scumbag.
Yeah. And then he's black bagged and taken out into the desert. And we get a bunch of names that are not going to pay off in real time for about 5 years, 6 years.
There's no universe in which this was intended.
No.
They literally they mined the episodes for details, so it's not like they had Nacho Varga planned.
No,
right?
No.
But they did build a compelling plot off of this stuff.
Yeah. Using these parts that they just kind of threw in, he's speaking, he says, it's not me, it's Ignacio, he's the one, speaking in Spanish, siempre soy un amigo, siempre un amigo de cartel, I'm always a friend of the cartel. Like he believes it's the cartel finally getting ready to do him in for what happened, in Better Call Saul. Right.
Yeah. Walt and Jesse are in ski masks with little puffs on the top that they've worn before. And he realized like, oh, Lalo didn't send you? Oh, thank Christ. At the end of that series, he does not know that Lalo couldn't get him.
And there's a ton of pathos to this. Like terrible things have happened to Jimmy in the desert before.
Yeah. Yeah. His reaction to this is not his first rodeo. Like when we think about all of the stuff that Jimmy's been through, it makes sense for him to, once he realizes it's not the cartel, he relaxes and takes control of the situation, completely.
Yeah.
Like once he finds out, he's like, what can I do for you? Jesse says, you should have taken the bribe. He's like, well, no offense, I don't take bribes from strangers. Jesse's, the deal expired. Expired is I'm going to keep a happy thought and assume this is a negotiating tactic. And he gets up. He stands up. He takes control.
Yeah.
Over this.
Apparently, this scene was a nightmare to shoot. It was freezing outside. And
a lot of sand in the equipment.
Yeah. And Bob Odenkirk had to spend most of it tied up with his hands behind his back on his knees.
Yeah. Not great.
No.
Yeah.
But Jesse says, you're going to keep Badger from talking to the DEA for free, or else you're dead. And Saul raises an incredibly good point that would be, just be a given with any other drug dealing operation. Why don't you just kill Badger?
Yeah. If a mosquito bites you, you don't go gunning for the mosquito's attorney. Every time this happened, Walt looks over at Jesse. I was like, Like, Walt starts coughing and Saul recognizes him. Take off the mask, get some air. And he's like, I'm going to stand up. I got bad knees.
Yeah.
And he now is in control. Both of you put $1 in my pocket. Make it official. Again, ask official like. I love Jesse just having a 5. He's like, I'll take a 5. Just do it.
Come on.
Now they have attorney-client privilege. You are now official, clients of Saul Goodman and Associates.
Yeah. So prison shaking is off the table. He says, the way I see it, somebody's going to prison. It's just a matter of who.
Yep. So Hank lays out a deal for Badger. We got to Badger Hank and Saul and Gomi in the room.
Yeah.
Saul is speaking for him. Hank is laying it out and he's like, hey, the tough guy act is unnecessary. This young man's cooperating fully.
Yeah.
Badger nods and says, yeah, the cook is Heisenberg. He's old. He's 50 or 70, average height, no hair, balder than you.
Yeah.
Describing a character. And then we get the layout of how this happened.
Right.
We get some chronological trickery.
Yeah. So they're back at Saul's office and laying out this character who is going to be sent to prison. He is describing this guy, Jimmy In and Out, aka Jimmy Kilkelly.
Yes.
Provides a very special kind of service. He spent most of his life on the inside. He prefers it in there now, because the outside world hasn't been too kind to him for a fee. he will take the fall for you and go to prison. This buy is already set up. We have Jimmy go and act as Heisenberg. And then he gets popped, sent to jail. The heat's off of you. And all you have to do is pay $80,000 for the privilege, sacrifice a pound of meth for this. And, 50,000 of that's going to go to Saul.
Yeah. And somebody should take this episode and send it back to Shawshank Redemption times. Can you imagine what this would have done for that old guy?
Oh yeah, man.
If he could have realized he could have gone back to prison for money.
Yeah. Working a shitty grocery store, ask, permission to go to the bathroom. Come on.
All you could do is pretend to sell meth and then get back on the inside.
Yeah.
Institutionalized. They balk at the price. But he's like, listen, the cheaper option is having Badger shanked in the chow line. That's still available. Walt looks at Jesse again like, eventually they spit out the cash.
Yeah. Conscience gets expensive, doesn't it?
Yeah. Really fun scene again. Badger's on the park bench where the cold open happened, and Hank Gomi and DJ Qualls, the sickest FBI agent in the world, are watching him from across the street.
Yep. And Walt
is so ill. He's so consumptive.
Yeah.
He's got huge waif. It's like Mina Harker.
Yeah.
As an FBI, it's like the waifest waif that's ever wafed.
Yeah.
It's fucking, I'm like Ender Lilies. It's Hank Gomi and DJ Ender Lilies over here.
Yeah. But he's so tall is the thing. So like, he's just give me something in your reediest waif.
What is such a weird little ectomorph.
It's a surprise we never got him as Gillian, actually.
Yeah. I mean, very weird. Walt and Jesse are in the Aztec watching as well. They have binoculars and they're watching. Jimmy is late.
Yeah.
Just
I love this. Jesse's like, you think this Jimmy guy's real? He wants to be in prison. And Walt says a line, from like a different episode of the show or from a different show. There's more than one kind of prison. Just like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah. But he gets it. It's that 50 years he was describing to Hank.
Yeah.
Of not being, being scared. So a bald guy sets up next to Badger, but it's not the right guy. So this little comedy thing because Badger doesn't know what Jimmy looks like. So he's like, let's do this, man. And the guy's just like, goes back to his newspaper. And Walt figures out a way around this, to correct the situation. Peels out.
It's a big risk. He drops Jesse off, says, okay, Jimmy's at the wrong bench. You need to tell Badger, go to the right guy. Right. Yeah. And he's going to provide cover for this with a hilarious beat. He plays the fool. He plays ignorant and then just pulls up like, oh, I recognize Hank. Hank's in the driver's seat there and pulls up right alongside. Oh, yeah. How are you doing, man? Yeah. Just blocking the camera and trying to do small talk.
I'm at work. DA work? Oh, it's
the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah, it's very similar to that. Hank's getting furious. Like Walt, peel out, go move. I go forward or backwards. So forward will get me out of the way. As DJ Qualls like, Hank, I don't have a shot. Hank, I don't have a shot. They need this to get the put away. Until Jesse walks up behind, and just goes, wrong bench, other guy, wrong guy. So then he's able to get back up and switch benches.
Yeah. And Walt pulls away, now that he's headed the other way. And Jesse manages to get back into the Aztec. The door really did jam. Like he really struggles to get in. They used the take because it was very funny. Jesse never broke character, but apparently the entire crew was just laughing around him. Oh, so they had to do the audio edit, take the laughing out, and Jesse had to do ADR on it.
That's funny.
Or Aaron Paul. Yeah.
I love this little bit. So they arrest him, and he immediately, as soon as anything happened, just gets up and gets on his knees. Like he's just done it before. He's not gonna, and Hank's saying there, DJ Qualls is talking to his boss, talking about how they got him. And Hank is just staring at it. I'm like, he doesn't buy it.
Yeah. Something's
no
not right here. Yeah. So Jesse returns home and his mattress has been delivered. It's a big old mattress leaning up against the living room wall. And Jen comes over. She let the delivery guys in.
Yep. And they go to town on it. We cut over to Walt grading tests in chemistry class when Saul walks in. Like, And he's been doing his research.
Oh my God, you really are a chemistry teacher. And this is bone chilling for Walt.
Yeah.
Because that's the first time he's been made. Like somebody's drawn the connection.
Yeah, no problem. He's like, how did you find me? He's like, oh, well, first of all, we got to talk about that. You're way too easy to find. My PI charged me for 3 hours. I seriously doubt it took him more than one. That's Mike, right?
Yeah, that's Mike. We actually see this. We see the handoff happen. At the end there. Which is I don't like this line in retrospect. They couldn't have known that an Ehrmantraut would be about. Ehrmantraut would never pat us in voices. Come on.
No. I could also see it just being a line.
Yeah.
That's all likes to say. He's ingratiating himself by being like, isn't this the way?
Yeah. I'm being taken for a ride too. Right.
Yeah. Saul, explains that Walt's, your situation's really bad. Where are you keeping your money? Buried in the yard? Like, listen, if I can find you, how far can they be behind? And Walt realizes he's selling something. Like, what are you offering me? And we get the, Saul's old movie thing. Like, one of his character things, he's like real into the 40s. Just kind of in general, like this is not the 40s, but he loves old gangster movies. He loves old crime stuff.
Yeah. It's something he picked up from, from Kim.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he says, what did Tom Hagen do for Vito Corleone? and Walt just plays right in. He's like, wait, I'm no Vito Corleone. You're no shit. Right now you're Fredo, but I can make you into Vito, right?
Yeah. Sound advice, proper introductions, who knows? Yeah. Saul says, listen, your product, if it got the DA involved, it's big time. You're onto something special. I want to be a small and silent part of your something special.
Yeah.
If you want to make money and you want to keep the money you make, better call Saul. And then leaves.
And now he's part of the team.
And it's such a good team.
God,
like just anytime, what a gift this is giving us that for the rest of the series, we're going to get all these scenes where like it's Walt, Jesse, and Saul planning. Hey, 2 words, laser tag. Like every time it comes up, it's such a joy.
Yeah.
Like it really feels like this is a real moment of arrival to me for the series.
Yeah.
Like, so fun.
Yeah. Bob Odenkirk is a treasure.
Absolutely a treasure.
And that's not news to anybody. Like that's not like great analysis of the episode or whatever. It's just true.
We're talking a lot of sugar. Somebody's going to come out of I understand contrarians because I am one. Somebody's going to pop out and be like, I don't actually see what the big deal is about Bob Odenkirk. Like there's like, I want to say everybody loves him. There's somebody who doesn't. Yeah. I get it. Let us have our fun. He's a beautiful treasure to me.
Yeah.
And, you don't have to get it. You just have to accept it.
Yeah. Again, I just go back to that moment when I realized, who he was. Just like, oh yeah, no, just suddenly it all comes rushing back. Like, okay, here he is. I know him from this stuff, and even just like making his debut in this Tim and Eric ass cartoon. He produced that show. He produced Tom Goes to the Mayor. Like, he helped like raise those guys' profile. He
is a comedy saint.
Yes,
godfather of modern comedy.
Yeah,
and I adore him. I went to his books for his first book. I went to a signing. I have a picture of me with him.
Oh, nice.
I have a signed book, A Load of Hooey, his first like comedy novel before his like serious biography that is apparently very good. Yeah. That picture also has my ex in it. One of my exes. So it's not as fun a picture as it could be,
Well, it's fine.
But yeah, it's very happy to have done so. Really excited to have more Saul. He's only in a couple episodes this season. But then he comes back in more of a role later.
Yeah.
And we're on like a lot of great tracks at this point. We're going to get, the bottle episode. We're going to get our 4 days out, which is really good. We're going to get the climax of this, but we're on the Hank PTSD, Hank versus the cartel track, which is really fun. Yeah. We're not too far from Gus and Mike. Yeah. We're very close to Mike. All great stuff.
Yeah. We're pretty close to having the Predator and the Terminator introduced for the first half of season 3.
Yes. Love it. Very excited. Thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate you. If you like the show, the best thing you can do for us is go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and support the show. If you do, you get a bunch of bonus shows, and you support us. And that's why we can do these shows. It's why we can do these kind of flights of fancy things. Like we have our tentpole shows. We also like talking about all kinds of media, which we probably could not justify if it wasn't for listener support.
Yes.
Because these shows, not as many people listen to them. I think they're just as good, but they don't have the audience. That is just the truth. So I really, really appreciate when people do support us. You keep stuff like this going.
You do. If you can, leave a rating or review wherever you found this episode at. And that helps, through some form or fashion, raise visibility, especially it does makes it even more of a difference for a smaller show on the network like this one.
Yeah.
Than it does even for the other ones, which you should also rate and review. And tell your friends. If you got folks, somebody somewhere is starting a Breaking Bad rewatch at all times. You probably know one. Kick them our way.
Look to your left.
Yeah.
Look to your right. Yeah. And big thanks to Gwen.
Yes.
For producing this, writing the theme song, which is a banger. We love her and she does great work.
Yeah. I think that's about it.
That's about it. Until next time, better call Saul.